Ladies and gentlemen, God bless the people who suffered 19 years ago, who lost their lives, who lost family members, also in the never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts where our soldiers, American soldiers, were sent by Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, using the tragedy 19 the worst day in American history, to send Americans off into never-ending and perpetual conflict that President Trump is now reversing. President Trump has reversed U.S. foreign policy that Bush started and that President Obama furthered. You have that's the first point. So God bless the people who have sacrificed everything and who have lost so much and who have done so much to help keep this country safe, especially the first responders on that fateful day, especially people who risked their health and well-being in New York. Which is why I like Rand Paul, but he's wrong on certain things. He has to just simply look, if there's a bill that helps people, everyone has to focus on the health and well-being, especially of first responders on that day, and especially of the people who were sent, people who now are facing PTSD, people now who have faced, we have hundreds of thousands of traumatic brain injuries from our never-ending military conflicts. And so, before I get to John Durham, and before I get to top GOP investigator presses DOJ and FBI and Mueller team phones being wiped before Michael Horowitz's review. So, I mean, we knew of this taking place, but now we have even more evidence that they covered their tracks, which seems to kind of indicate guilt. Before I get to that, it's important to remember something pertaining to why is there a book coming out that falsely claims without evidence. If you claim something without evidence, it's false. You cannot prove a negative. You can't say, well, it could have happened. They do not have any evidence other than gossip and hearsay that Trump said horrible things. They are now just basically tabloid magazines. The Atlantic has turned into a tabloid. And then you have Bob Woodward's book saying, oh, yeah, Trump, he acknowledged the risk. Well, he never called the virus a hoax. That is also a fabricated quote. He called the response, the Democratic Party's response to his handling, a hoax. Their apoplectic response, their instinctive reaction to just oppose anything he does. And so what Democrats do is they convince themselves he didn't take it seriously, and then they say, look, he took it seriously, and then they convince themselves that he said things about fallen soldiers because he said certain things about John McCain, but that had nothing to do with fallen soldiers or anything disparaging people who've lost their lives. But this is all before September. This is all before November. Why do you think this is taking place? President Trump is presiding over an economy that's rebounding. The highest unemployment rates are in New York, New Jersey. God bless the people of New York, and God bless the people of New Jersey, and God bless the people in Illinois and Pennsylvania and Michigan. But the highest at California, but the highest unemployment rates are in those states. The greatest amount of life, the greatest loss of life took place in those states from the pandemic. In aggregate, New York and New Jersey have the highest unemployment rates in the country. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the highest unemployment rates. They have the greatest number of lives lost in the pandemic, and per capita, in terms of lives, the highest rate per capita in New Jersey leads the country. And you have pure Democratic machines running them. And Illinois, New York, New Jersey, but also other states that are run by Democrats have the highest property loss. Minnesota, that's going to go red. Florida will go red. Obviously, he's not only is Biden suppressing the Hispanic vote in Florida, according to Democrats, a couple weeks back, but Trump is doing better than he did in 2016 in Miami-Dade and urban centers of South Florida. So it's like President Trump's going 8 years. You watch. And I had an amazing live stream last night. Very, very, just to my super chat. It's like amazing the support I get, especially from one gentleman last night. Thank you very much. But to everyone at the super chat who donates through the super chat on my live stream, and also to my new Patreons, thank you very, very much. Truly amazing. Thank you. I'm providing a voice that I don't think exists, or I don't think there are many people that convey the sentiments that I am. There are about 5 or 6 or 7, probably about 10 people on YouTube that I would say, yeah, they're talking about the same things that I am. President Trump being a great president. President Trump being a lot better. If you don't have to be an overt Trump supporter, because there are a lot of great channels that maybe are not overt Trump supporters, but they know the president is doing a great job, an infinitely better job than any Democrat would do in this time. We had 8 years of President Obama. He presided over a failed NATO intervention that destroyed Libya. He turned the country into a failed state. Who is talking about this? So I bring this up all the time because the world seems to have forgotten all the catastrophes that took place under President Obama and the absolute debacle, atrocious foreign policy, the debacles that took place, the travesties that took place under the Bush administration. And, I mean, we have this right now. They're wiping their phones clean. Top Republican investigators demanding answers after at least 24 phones belonging to members of the special counsel's Robert Mueller's team were wiped of their data before Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz's investigators could review them. This is everything from the Steele dossier to the Atlantic article. The Atlantic article was published a day after Hillary Clinton was published. Clinton now on Monday is doing a joint grassroots fundraiser with Kamala Harris. Hillary Clinton will be on that ballot. I have always stated, I don't know how it's going to happen. Sure, I thought that she would take the nomination on the Zoom meeting nomination, or whether in person or whatever way they had it through a Zoom meeting where Biden took it. It's not really relevant how it takes place. I always emphasize that. Some people say, well, you said she'd be the nominee. No, yeah, because the point was, I always stated after that, I don't care how it happens, she'll be on the ballot. If Biden's the nominee first and then she becomes nominee, if she takes it after the debates or before the debates, who cares? I always stated, I don't know how it's going to happen. And if you watch this channel, you know I don't know how it's going to happen. But everything that you've seen the past 4 years is to pave the way for Clinton 2020. The headline in the article is Hillary Clinton 2020. I wrote that in the Huffington Post in 2017. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. It's like I said, be here 9 p.m. Pacific every evening. We have an amazing live stream. Last night I was talking about an article in Politico that says it doesn't matter if mail-in ballots are sent out. It doesn't matter if mail-in ballots are sent out because the Electoral College votes based on political party. Or they would then vote based on political party. And this was an article written in 2016 in September when Donna Brazile had to think of a replacement. Okay? Because Madam Secretary fell ill. So if people vote Biden and absentee ballots, the votes would still go to Clinton. And I read that last night on the live stream. I read the entire article. Okay, and I shared it on the live stream. But anyway, the point is, you look at the past 16 years, the 16 years prior to before President Trump. You had an era of never-ending military conflict. President Trump was framed and set up. President Trump has been misquoted, and quotes have been fabricated that were attributed to him. Trump has been denigrated, mocked, insulted, demeaned. They've tried every single possible way to either they impeached him based on nonsense. Are you kidding? He would spend $1 billion just to face Biden. He knows he's not going to eventually face Biden, either at the debates or on that ballot. Who knows how it happens, but it's going to be the biggest political call of all time. Clinton is going to be across from President Trump on that ballot. Biden is done. Anyone telling you that Biden has even a chance to win is a complete and utter fool. Like, not only beholden to the Democratic Party, but actually seduced or, hypnotized by the Democratic Party and media. There's no way that this man wins anything because people are questioning whether he's one fry short of a Happy Meal, and he proves it every single day. I'm not going to get into the just absurd, the meandering, the never-ending, the fact that he loses his train of thought every single time he opens his mouth. And you're talking about somebody who looks and acts like an exhumed body. He has nothing. He's been in politics for, 50 years. You cannot name a signature accomplishment. And he voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. And he wrote the crime bill that people are now bringing up more so than ever. And he helped push the NATO intervention that turned Libya into a failed state. And he personifies 8 years of President Obama's administration that led to President Trump. President Trump is a great president. He had 2 major foreign policy achievements within the past month, 2 more foreign policy achievements within 1 month, two achievements that were greater than 8 years of President Obama's administration in terms of foreign policy accomplishments. Can you name a foreign policy accomplishment from Bush or President Obama? I can't. Try to name one. With President Trump, you have diplomatic ties, economic ties between Serbia and Kosovo. You have diplomatic ties and eventually economic ties between UAE and Israel. That's 2 huge accomplishments that people never thought were possible. Then you have President Trump stepping foot in North Korea and beginning détente between North and South Korea. The imbeciles on the left would say, well, who cares? So what? It's like, you can say who cares and so what, and it doesn't mean anything. It is still an accomplishment nonetheless. You can try to remove any, any semblance of the accomplishment. You can try to denigrate it. You can try to say it's just a photo op. It's not that big of a deal, but it happened nonetheless. And it makes a difference to millions of people in those countries. And it makes a difference in the world. We are safer because of President Trump. He's removing Americans from Iraq now. He ended America's longest-running military conflict and war in Afghanistan in late February, early March. The left and media, they don't care. He stopped a covert program funding rebels to remove Assad, who was funded by Iran. Then you have President Obama's signature nuclear deal with the same country that's funding a despot that President Obama wanted to remove in another failed regime change attempt. And so now it's President Obama's most amazing achievement, the nuclear deal, which was a horrendous deal. Military installations were off limits to be inspected. And there were 23 ballistic missile tests. It's the most horrendous deal of all time. But anyway, you might not like Trump's style, but he gets things done. We had record low unemployment. We had record low Black and Latino unemployment before the pandemic, and it was Democratic-run states that said we have to shut down our entire economies to protect people, but you can vote in person. They voted in person in Wisconsin, Illinois, Arizona, and Florida to vote against Medicare for all. You had 4 years of the same pundits that got $20 million in venture capital funding. That's why when I thank my Patreons and when I spend time thanking my Super Chat, I do so because I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding. And I'm thankful for the people who support my voice. But if you're a big pundit on the left, and you're so righteous and morally superior, and you have this big social media following, you had 4 years to make the Democratic Party shiver in its boots. You had 4 years of AOC, or no, 2 years, but you had 4 years of Medicare for all, Medicare for all, Medicare for all. So why haven't they even passed a Medicare for all bill? Why did Biden, who will eventually give the nomination or whatever, however it takes place, like I said, I don't care. At the end of the day, it's going to be Hillary. She's the only chance they have, which says something about the Democratic Party. That'll be the biggest political call of all time. But why haven't they adopted Medicare for all? Oh, that's right, because they know that they could intimidate and bully and silence and ignore progressives. The only way to get Medicare for all is to actually build up the Green Party. But they wouldn't do that because it's not fashionable. You can't get the $20 million in venture capital funding if you say you're going to devote millions of subs to building the Green Party. That's not sexy or fashionable, or there's no Hollywood's going to say you're a Russian agent. They're already going after all the left-leaning publications like Jacobin now, and they're saying they're saying that it's part of a Russian propaganda troll farm operation from Putin. Just today. The left, the interesting thing is the people who supported Bernie Sanders in 2020. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster in 2016 in the entire internet, according to the Huffington Post. And I was the biggest, I was the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. But see, you go from Bernie Sanders to Trump because President Trump is doing everything from prison reform legislation to record low unemployment to removing soldiers, American soldiers, from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts to addressing the trade imbalance with China to lowering prescription drug prices with an executive order. You could say, well, it didn't lower. At least he's addressing these issues, and at worst, you can't disagree with the fact that he's at least addressed the issues. Then when you take a closer look, he's actually doing amazingly well in reversing U.S. foreign policy. It's just 4 years, and they impeached him based on hearsay and gossip. There are articles written about him based on hearsay and gossip, and who paved the way? Elizabeth Warren said that Hillary Clinton, that Bernie Sanders said a woman couldn't win. That was the original gossip and hearsay story of 2020. And Bernie was okay with it. Eventually, Democrats were okay with it, or progressives were okay with it, whatever. When I say okay with it, there are no repercussions. The far left, is oblivious to most things, and they just harp on. They focus on certain messages that Democrats will never address, like Medicare for all or Green New Deal legislation. They wouldn't even vote on a resolution in the Senate because they knew that media and Republicans would hold them to it. So they didn't even vote on the resolution. They were so embarrassed of the Green New Deal resolution, they couldn't even vote on it in the Senate because, it's just to inspire people. What a bunch of nonsense. Anyway, I know that I spent most of the time kind of, talking about how the events, the horrific event that took place, and the algorithm, you can't, sometimes when you say even the name, it's like a big issue with the algorithm, but the worst day in American history, you fast forward to this point, I'd rather have President Trump than anybody, including Bernie Sanders. Are you kidding? Bernie Sanders would be a tool of the Democratic Party. He is already a tool. Look, he's backing Biden, who would veto Medicare for all. And then when Clinton comes and takes control of everything, he will say, Madam Secretary, I'm going to support you again. But here, quote, it appears that Special Counsel Mueller's team may have deleted federal records that could be key to better understanding their decision-making process as they pursued their investigation and wrote the report. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa wrote to the Justice Department. So they actually deleted federal records simply to cover their tracks. We already have Kevin Kleinsmith, who indicted on falsifying information and fabricating information and omitting information simply to go after Carter Page because they had nothing on Carter Page and they had nothing on Trump. Everything they had on Trump was outsourced or fabricated, or it was an outsourced dossier that was completely fabricated, or a CrowdStrike assessment that was paid for. Or you have corrupt FBI officials who had to just lie to FISA judges like Kevin Kleinsmith. But here, indeed, many officials apparently deleted records after the DOJ Inspector General began his inquiry into how the department mishandled Crossfire Hurricane. Any other person, the FBI would have, they tried to go after George Papadopoulos for deleting a Facebook page. Moreover, based on this new information, and a Facebook page, you would be culpable or responsible for things that you didn't even write, that people that you knew wrote. But here, moreover, based on this new information, the number of times and the stated reasons for the deletion calls into question whether or not it was a widespread intentional effort. Yeah, it was an intentional effort. Of course it was. Of course it was. And now John Durham is finding this out. And this is happening right before the Inspector General is trying to ask, well, hey, what's going on here? Especially on today. Look at the past 20 years. Look at the past 19 years. Who got us into never-ending military conflict? The Lincoln Project people who are now aligned with the Democratic Party. The Democrats like Biden and Clinton and Kerry who voted for these never-ending military conflicts. So it's just and look at the left. If social media existed back then, I'm frightened to think which political side would be saying, oh yeah, oh yeah, who would be saying this? Oh yeah, the country deserves this. Who would, ask yourself who would be saying that? It's not a difficult answer. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Thank God we didn't have social media back then. Thank God. Give me your thoughts below. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific tonight. Oh, and President Trump's on his way to winning Florida. He's going to win Florida, but like I said, he's even doing better. Like I said a little while back, he's doing better even in the metropolitan areas of South Florida. So they're not going with Biden because they know he's being propped up more than any other human being who's ever lived by media and by the political establishment. At the end of the day, Clinton's going to be the nominee after this nominee. Who cares when it happens, how it happens? I always said, who cares how it happens? Look at the headline. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. That is the H.A. Goodman prophecy. I'm being facetious, but that's the biggest political prediction of all time. Give me your thoughts below.